All right, let's talk about a crew that's literally the stuff of legends, the Roger Pirates. We're going to unravel some of the biggest mysteries they left behind. I mean, think about it. They're the only crew to have ever conquered the entire Grand Line. To this day, nobody else has even come close.
And the man at the center of it all, Gold D. Roger. You know, with his final words, he didn't just surrender to his fate. Nope. He lit a fire under every dreamer out there, kicking off the great pirate era. But today, we're not just looking at the man. We're diving deep into the incredible crew that sailed alongside him.
Okay, just look at this number, 5.5 billion berries. And that was Roger's bounty alone, the highest we've ever seen. A number like that isn't just a reward, you know? It's a statement. It tells you everything you need to know about their power, their influence, and just how much of a threat they were to the world government. It's what cemented them as, without a doubt, the greatest pirate crew to ever sail the seas.
So at the core of this legendary crew, you had this powerhouse trio. You've got the captain, of course, the pirate king himself, Gol D. Roger. Then there's his right-hand man, the Dark King, Silvers Raleigh, an absolute monster in his own right. And rounding out this core leadership team is his left-hand man, Skapar Nabin, a guy so tough they called him the Mountain Eater. I mean, with a lineup like that, it's no wonder they were unstoppable.
All right, our first section, a king's final laugh. See, the legend of the Roger Pirates isn't just about their strength or their long journey. It's really defined by what happened right at the very end, on that final, mysterious island.
So what did they actually find on this final island, Laugh-Tale? Well, after this incredibly dangerous voyage, after tracking down and deciphering all those ancient poneglyphs, you know, those indestructible stones with the world's real history, they did the impossible. With the help of Kazuki Odin, they became the first people in 800 years to reach that final island and find Joy Boy's legendary treasure, the One Piece.
But here's where it gets weird. Their reaction to finding the world's greatest treasure? It's not what you'd think. There wasn't some big cheer of victory or a triumphant roar. According to Odin's journal, when Roger finally saw what Joy Boy had left behind, he just laughed. And it wasn't just him. The entire crew joined in, just bursting into uncontrollable laughter.
So what on earth could be that funny? Roger himself said the treasure was a funny story. A story so wild, so completely hilarious, that it made him name the island Laugh-Tale. This mystery, the secret behind that laughter, has been fueling theories for years and years.
And oh boy, have the fans come up with theories. One big one is that they were just too early, that the treasure was tied to some prophecy they couldn't fulfill yet. Another idea? Maybe the final poneglyph was blank, and they realized they were just the setup, not the punchline. Some people even think the missing key was, ironically, Buggy, who got sick and had to be left behind. The real answer, though, still one of the biggest secrets in the whole story.
Okay, on to our next section, Roger's hidden son. Because, as it turns out, the biggest secret Roger ever left behind wasn't some treasure on an island, it was a person. A secret he protected right up to his very last breath. Before his execution, Roger went to his greatest rival, Marine Vice Admiral Monkey D. Garp, and basically handed over the life of his unborn son. His partner, Portgas D. Rouge, did something absolutely incredible. She held her son in her womb for 20 months just to hide him from the world government's manhunt. It was a sacrifice that tragically cost her her own life right after he was born.
And this timeline, man, it just perfectly captures the tragedy of Ace's life. Here was a guy constantly at war with himself, hating the fact that the blood of the Pirate King ran through his veins. The only real family he felt he had were his sworn brothers, Luffy and Sabo. Ace's career as a pirate was like a shooting star. So bright, so fast, but it ended in tragedy, with him making the ultimate sacrifice to save the person he loved most in the world.
And you can see this whole internal conflict right there in his name. He was born Gol D Ace, the heir to the Pirate King, but he hated it. He completely rejected it. Instead, he chose to be Portgas D Ace, to honor his mother's sacrifice and to build his own identity. He wasn't the son of a king he never knew. He was the brother of Luffy and Sabo. And in his final moments, as he was dying in Luffy's arms, he finally found some peace. He wasn't thinking about his so-called cursed bloodline or the father he resented. He was thinking about the family that chose him, and he thanked them for loving him despite it all. Just a gut-wrenching end to a life that was so full of conflict.
Which brings us to our third section, a rival's strange promise. Because Roger's last request opens up another huge mystery about Ace's life, the man who protected him.
I mean, this is a question that has had fans scratching their heads for years. Why would the Pirate King entrust his only son to his greatest enemy, Marine Vice Admiral Garp? Roger's explanation was that even though they spent years trying to kill each other, they were like old friends. But still, why risk everything on the word of a Marine? Well, there's a really popular fan theory out there that suggests their connection was way deeper than just a simple rivalry.
This theory suggests that their rivalry wasn't the whole picture. What if the bond between Roger and Garp wasn't about being enemies, but about being family?
So check this out. The theory completely reframes their whole relationship. It suggests Roger's real name might have actually been Monkey D. Roger, and that he dropped the monkey part to protect his brother Garp's career in the Marines. Now, if that's true, it changes everything. Garp wasn't just protecting some rival's kid, he was protecting his own nephew. That promise suddenly becomes this heartbreaking family duty. It might even explain that slight resemblance some people see between Ace and Garp's son, Dragon, who would be his cousin.
All right, final section, the unfinished story. When you start tying all these threads together, the laughter, the secret son, the rival's promise, you realize something. The true legacy of the Roger Pirates isn't some chest full of gold.
It's a story of secrets, of sacrifice, and of an inherited will being passed down through generations. Roger knew he couldn't finish the story, so he put all his hope in the future, the dream of freedom itself, and passed that torch to the next generation, starting with his son, Ace.
And this really hits the nail on the head. In the middle of all that chaos at Marineford, Whitebeard screamed that Ace's death was not the end. He said that his will, and Roger's will before him, could never be extinguished. Someone else would show up to carry that flame. And, well, he wasn't wrong, was he? So, the story of the Roger Pirates is over. They set the stage and they left behind this incredible tale of laughter and tragedy. But that inherited will they passed on is still very much alive, carried now by a new set of players. And it leaves all of us wondering, what kind of funny story will this next generation finally write? And who's going to get the last laugh when it's all said and done?